Welcome to episode 138 of the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business. I'm Brian Fisher. Are you a business owner or executive searching for practical strategies to grow your company? This podcast series focuses on the various subjects and topics to help you run a successful, profitable business and is targeted to business owners and C-suite executives. But anyone interested in business can benefit. It reflects my 34 years as a business owner and subsequent years as a business mentor and consultant. They're approximately 15 minutes long, so you can listen while commuting. In the previous episode, 137, our guest was Louis Derechen, discussing the offshore death trap. Today's episode discusses entrepreneur to managed business transition with David Hori. Based out of the Seattle, Washington area, David Hori is the principal of Topline Operators, a company that helps business owners with big dreams for their company. Let's welcome David Hori. David, welcome to the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us today, David. David, I'm always interested in people's stories. What's your background in becoming the principal of Topline Operators, a company that help business owners with big dreams for their company?
My career actually began in food and beverage and hospitality. That was my first career. And then I went corporate via one of the largest global law firms on the planet. I think Bill Gates Senior's law firm. And what that taught me was that I actually don't belong really in big, slow businesses. And so I worked my way progressively to smaller, faster, more innovative companies until I landed in the world of VC-funded startups. And God blessed me tremendously in that he partnered me with 3 different founders who had an idea and funding with some of the best VCs on the planet. And ultimately, we got to grow those companies together, and 3 of those exited via acquisition in the last 10 years. So that's a little bit about me. And coming out of that 3rd acquisition, it was the acquisition by Toyota. I got to transition our company and help with that into a Japan-based company. And there's a lot of learning and great experiences. And I was about to jump into my 4th startup. And I realized, wait a second, I keep building companies for other people, and that's been tremendously rewarding and a great outcome for me personally. But I want to be in the seat of the founder investor and realize the full benefit of building for myself. And that's what led me to found Topline Operators.
Well, that's a great story. This episode's topic is entrepreneur to managed business transition. How do you help owners trapped by their own success?
There are a number of ways somebody can be trapped by success. But the through line that most often is teased out when I talk to business owners is that they just don't have any time to work on the business because they're so focused on working in the business. And this is not a new concept, but often even the most successful business owners I talk to have hired along this kind of traditional path. Right? You start building a business maybe and you think, oh, I should hire a salesperson or I should hire a customer success person. And all of these things are anecdotal, I think, methods to growing a business, and they work. What happens though is as you become more and more successful, you become the glue that connects all of these disparate departments, sales, operations, customer support, etc. And your role becomes almost a glorified administrative position where everybody's looking for context from you and to connect the dots and everything. And what I've found is that the antidote to that is buying back your time with starting with that admin piece. How do I outsource the administrative piece first? And then there's a methodology for what do you hire second, third, etc. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And following up on that, how do you help business owners break through growth ceilings while keeping the company culture intact?
That requires tremendous intentionality, keeping culture intact. Revenue can be, and profitability and those things can be addressed in a number of different methodologies. I have a framework that I work with business owners to kind of determine where those opportunities are, both the low-hanging fruit and the biggest impact. But doing so with culture kind of at the forefront requires, again, thoughtfulness and consistency. And so you have to be really clear about what culture you want to have within your business, and then consistently create incentives around that and reinforce that. And culture is really just a fancy word for the habits that you allow and incentivize within your business. And you have the exact culture that you've designed, whether you've done it on purpose or not.
We're speaking with David Hori, Principle of Topline Operators, a company that helps business owners with big dreams for their company. David has spent 25 plus years building and scaling businesses, 3 VC-funded startups through acquisition, including CARMERA, which was sold to Toyota. His sweet spot is helping founder-dependent businesses break through growth ceilings or transition out entirely while keeping employees and culture intact. He's not your typical coach. He thinks like an owner, not an advisor selling billable hours. Now, let's get back to the questions. David, how do you help business owners keep employees engaged?
One thing that is key to keeping employees engaged is having a vision that is big enough for their vision to live within, for their ambitions to nestle underneath, and then engaging that, captivating their creativity, their ideas, and giving them a space to be expressed is really how you engage your team members. And that, again, comes back a lot to what are you incentivizing within your business? Not just, oh, I want to continue to be employed here and have a job, but again, why this specific channel to express my professional expertise and creativity?
David, sometimes business owners are looking to exit. If a business owner is looking to sell, how do you help them?
One way that I help business owners is helping them understand what drives the value of their business. And so talking with them and going through the financials can help me show them the valuation of their business and what levers actually drive value. Then there's a lot of education involved, right? Not just telling them what drives value, but also helping them to see how we can collaboratively come up with a structure that delivers the most value around their priorities and what do they actually need in an exit outcome. And then the third way, which is kind of surprising, is I often will actually talk people out of selling sometimes, where I'm talking to a business owner who actually has tons of ideas. They have gas in the tank and plenty of energy. It's just that they're stuck. And sometimes they feel like the only thing that they can do is sell. I'm stuck, so I guess I just sell. And in that case, I think it would be a mistake often for those business owners specifically to sell their business. And so it's connecting them with partners or potentially partnering with them myself that will unlock them onto and set them on a better trajectory. And so sometimes talking them out of an exit is another value add.
That's pretty interesting. I never thought of that one.
It is interesting. Again, sometimes, and this happens in all areas of life, and I try to recognize it faster in my own life, where it's like, I'm stuck. I guess I'll just fill in the blank. Well, maybe there's more options that I haven't actually considered. And certainly when you've built a business over decades with your own sweat, blood, and tears, it's worthwhile to look at, is that the actual outcome that best supports your needs and where you're at?
David, what results or lessons learned have you seen with businesses and individuals that have implemented your recommendations?
Yeah, gosh. One of the biggest projects that I've worked on the last 12 months was for a private equity-backed acquisition. And the kind of expectation that was set when I was brought on was like, hey, this acquisition's penned, ready to close. We're going to close any day and we're ready for it. We just want you to help with that transition period, going from overnight kind of competitors to team members. seems pretty straightforward. And what I found was there was actually a tremendous need for some pretty significant infrastructure in order to enable that, the logistics around actually migrating all of these people, again, from a competitive perspective into being collaborators. And that was something that I had to sound the alarm pretty quickly. Hey, I think that there's some significant investments we need to make in terms of systems, process, solutions, things like that. And thankfully, the close of that deal extended several months beyond kind of the initial timeline that they were envisioning. And we were able to not only implement and set those things up and ready things just the nick of time to support the landing of these individuals, but ultimately retain over 98% of them. And that's a big thing for acquisitions, is ensuring that the team that you're acquiring all comes over and continues to be engaged. And just, I don't know if I mentioned at the top of this story, but the company itself that was acquiring the entity was about 500 people. It was a tech company of about 500 people. They were acquiring 1,500 people. So it was the minnow swallowing the whale, and you had to build some things to make sure that they landed well. Anyways.
That's a big deal to get competitors to become team members.
Yeah.
That's no small task.
Well, and to stick around to see what happens on the other side.
Absolutely. That's a huge number, 98%. We're speaking with David Hori, Principle of Topline Operators. David, is there anything I've not asked that you'd like to add?
No, I think one of the things that I've been listening to some of your episodes, and you actually featured somebody that was talking about the 80-20 rule. And that really kind of, in my mind, triggered a thought around 80% done by somebody else is 100% awesome. And so a lot of founders, a lot of business owners that I speak with, have this narrative in their mind around nobody can do it as good as me. I can't trust anybody. I can't hire anybody to do it to my level. And that is a great reframing of expectations and a means of valuing your time, really, is what it comes down to, is the perspective that if somebody else does even 80% as good as I would do it, that is 100% awesome, because it unlocks my time, my creative juices, my ability to focus on the highest impact activities. And so just listening through some of your episodes, that was something that was sticking out in my mind.
David, how can people get in contact with you?
Follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. On Instagram, I am Topline Ops, TOPLINEOPS, Topline Ops, short for operators. And I post my best frameworks, experiences, et cetera, for business owners and others that are interested in acquiring businesses for you to learn and learn from my mistakes.
I'm starting to laugh. I'll have to cut this part out. Learning from our mistakes is a big deal.
Yeah. I learned the most from my mistakes. They say, learning from the mistakes of others is what wise people do, but I'm still learning that piece of it and being better at that.
David, thank you for joining us today on the BCF ORG podcast, The Business of Business.
Brian, thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
My sincere thanks to David Hori for joining us today. Managing the performance and future direction of your company are two of the most important things you do as a leader. And I'm here to help you. If you'd like to reach out to me for business mentoring or consulting, help you with a podcast, schedule a speaking engagement, or potentially be a guest like David, please go to bcforg.com. There's a red Contact Us button in the middle of the homepage. These podcasts will be released the first and third Tuesday each month. This podcast is available wherever you get your podcast. In search, type BCF ORG. Be sure to leave a space between BCF and ORG. And I'm looking for this podcast to move from an upper mid-tier podcast to a top-tier podcast. Please leave a positive review, let your friends and colleagues know about it, and don't forget to like, subscribe, or follow the podcast. Join us for our next episode, 139, when our guest will be Jesse Gilmore, discussing the playbook behind building teams. In business, running a successful, profitable business is the ultimate scorecard. You are never done and can always be better. It tends to be more fun than work, frustrating at times, but can be very rewarding. From BCF ORG Corp., I'm Brian Fisher, wishing you the best. Thanks.